Hey there, Star Wars Legion folks. Welcome back to another Lazy Legion Sunday here on Dice Commando. Good morning. Thank you for tuning in. So today we're talking the 501st Battle Force for Star Wars Legion, specifically because we kind of got the last piece of the puzzle that was needed in the form of the command cards that were spoiled on the AMG livestream. So today in a working meeting, I kind of want to go through everything we know about the Battle Force and see if we can figure out how to make this sucker work.
A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando.
Hey there, Legion folks, and welcome back. Thanks for tuning in, talking 501st Day. So let's kind of do a brief history of the whole shebang, right? So you guys may, or maybe you don't, but I used to be a clone player. And when I say clone player, I was not a Gar player, I was a clone player. I played the clones, right? No Padmes, no nothing like that. I like to play my clones. And when they took the double nerf, right, not only did they lose the token sharing, which probably completely fair, but they also took some units took a pretty significant points hit with that as well. And that points hit's important because it made it really hard to run certain lists, right? And this isn't necessarily like a retrospective, like, oh, they killed my clones, but basically what happened there was around that same time, we'd kind of gotten word that battle forces were coming, and I was just like, I've been working on my Empire army, so I'm going to pump the brakes on playing my clone army and kind of see how this develops. Now, so there you go. There's the background of why I'm excited about it. In March, then, but you can see this post from March 3rd. It may have been somewhere around that time. We got the info on what the unit breakdown, or I should say the army list breakdown for the 501st would be. So you could run Rex, the generic commander, or Anakin. No operatives. You could run 1 through 4 core with only clones, and then 1 through 4 special operatives, right? So you could run basically more ARC troopers, but there was going to be some rule in there where you could only run, right? It would minimize your strike teams, which seemed fine. So run your ARC squads, and you have max of 1 support. We know now through the box that's going to be ATRT is going to be supported, plus you could run the LAT. So that was the information we have then. To my knowledge, this is still valid, right, to my knowledge. So the part that was missing, though, was, okay, if we're hampered by this, the points are kind of off, right, because I played around with this quite a bit, and you couldn't quite get the points just didn't quite work. You ended up at like 7 activations in a lot of spots, and it just didn't feel quite right. So with all of that basically hampering you, it was like, hey, once we get the last piece of the puzzle here, which is those command cards, they should in theory help us out somehow, right, to make us want to run this. Because at the time, this was not looking like a very good army list. So that's what I wanted to do today, kind of in a working meeting, was look at the new command cards that we saw in the live stream this week and kind of compare those to what we have available and then the currently and what the other options are. So just if you haven't seen this yet, I'm sure you have, but this is the Battle Force for $150. It comes with an Anakin, comes with 3 ARC squads, 2 Phase 2s, and an ATRT, right? So, and I believe on the 1 to 4, right, I believe you only have to have 2 cores on this, is the minimum 2 cores. So you have to bring the 2, so you'd be able to field it out of this box. Looks pretty solid. The value on, that's a different cast, right? But the value on this one's probably not as good as some of the others, especially because you're probably double dipping with stuff you already have. But, for a new player who wants to play clones, fair enough, good entry point. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the new command card. So we have a 1-pip lead from the front. This is 501st Legion only, right? So it fits only with this Battle Force. When building a command hand, treat this card as though it has 2 pips, okay? That's pretty cool. After a friendly commander is issued an order by this card, choose 3 other friendly units within range 1. Each chosen unit gains 1 aim or 1 dodge. Okay, it's pretty useful. So that's a 2-pip, right? Keep in mind that is a 2-pip. Then have another 2-pip, which is tactical planning. After a friendly support or special ops support performs an attack against a unit that has face-up order token, shuffle that back into the order pool. That's pretty cool. And that's 2 of either. You're going to have a lot of special ops out there, right? And that could be pretty cool, right? 5s is a thing, right? He's pretty good. He's expensive. Very expensive, but he's a thing. And then we have leaders of the 501st, so 3 units. Permanent, that's interesting. So that's very interesting, right? Because it competes with permanent slots for Anakin, right? Because you usually want to get Anakins out early, the permanent ones. So that's something to note if you're playing Anakin. Allied units are range 1 to 2 of a friendly Anakin and or friendly clone Commander Rex. Note not the generic clone if you're playing that. Gain Indomitable. So, all right. So those, there's some pretty good stuff in there. But the question is really, are they good enough? What's the bonus, right? Because they have to be basically better than what we have access to now in order to have the bonus to actually run the restrictions on the list, right? Now, sure, you do get the bonus that you can, in theory, run some additional spec ops squads if that's what you want to do. So that's a fair argument as well. But a large part of why you would want to do this is the command card. So are they good enough? So comparing them to what we have now. Now I'm not going to run through that. Now I want to be very clear here with what I'm flashing up. There are other cards available to you, but these are the relevant ones I think that would take kind of those slots, right? One of them that I do like to run is air support, right? So that's Republic only, and it's pretty good early, right? It's got that beam. You can, especially against like a droid squad. Like I know I won a game with it one time. I mean, I didn't win the game with it, but it took out 7 or 8 droids on Rex's first activation, and put you in a lot better spot. So, right. So we have Anakin's 1, 2, and Anakin's command cards, right? So all of them are permanent, right? So you want to get those out pretty early. So his 1 pip, right, where he gains outmaneuver and relentless. Okay, maybe. I mean, it's good, but maybe there's a better one. But remember, we don't have a 1 pip, right? If I go back to the 501st command cards, you don't have a 1 pip, right? You have two. I mean, it plays as a 1 pip, right? But you build as 2 pips here, right? So we need a 1 pip. Right, so that's, basically if you're using both these guys, that's where that's coming from. So you have a lot of competition then for those 2 pips, right? Call Me Captain, I'm absolutely playing Call Me Captain. I love that card. Take That Clankers, I think is probably can go, right? I mean, it used to be very good, but it's been nerfed. I mean, probably fairly, right? So then what you're really competing in is the 2 pips, right? So we have You Underestimate My Power, we have Air Support, and then we have, I forget what they're called, we have Lead from the Front and Tactical Planning. So Tactical Planning seems pretty good. Lead from the Front. Hey there, folks. Sorry for the interruption. So when I was doing the editing for this video, I realized that I completely read and understood this card incorrectly, right? So when I read it, it was... So after a friendly unit performs an attack against a unit that has a face-up order token, shuffle that token back into the order pool. It's referring to the face-up token of the unit I'm attacking, not the token that I used to activate my unit. So I make some comments here about double activations. It's not true. It's not how it works. Makes this card less good, I think. So just keep that in mind as we're going through. Sorry about it, but hey, it's like I said, for the last 48 hours, that's what's been in my head is how this has worked. But this is clearly not how that works. It's the unit that's being attacked, not the unit that's activating. Sorry about that. Go Commando. I think maybe that's fair, right? Again, I realize they don't serve the same purpose, but air support can get kind of wonky because it's range 4+. Air support can get kind of wonky if you basically don't play it early. You also have a lot of other things here that you want to play early, whereas like what's it called again? Tactical planning, you can really play whenever, right? So that's an advantage there. So maybe air support and tactical planning get swapped out. But again, is the bonus of that worth the 501st restriction, not being able to bring Padme or not being, what I'm saying? So like, that's an interesting discussion there. Now for You Underestimate My, so Take That Clankers can go, air support, maybe that one's tradable. But Anakin's 2 pip, right? So Anakin plus 1 unit permanent. He gains Surge to Crit and Master of the Force 1. This is permanent. I don't think you can, like, if you're playing Anakin, to be fair, which you don't have to do here, but if you're playing Anakin, I don't think you can not play this card, right? This is very, very, very good. So I think you can't play them both, right? So I think what you end up with is, if you're playing Anakin, you go with You Underestimate My Power, and then probably it makes sense to play tactical planning because you're not. I think that makes sense, right? And then if we go look at Hero, the Clone Wars, you definitely want to play that one, I believe. We're Not Programmed is pretty good, but that's an interesting one, right? Because with Leaders of the 501st, you could swap that out. Now, again, I want to be very clear here. If you're only running one of the commanders for whatever reason, then this doesn't necessarily become as in-depth of a conversation, right? I grant you that. But it's, it's worth looking at what am I getting here, right? I mean, if we look at We're Not Programmed, that's a 4 clone trooper one, right? That's pretty good. Now the other 3 pip it's a 3, right? So it's 3 troopers effectively here, right? Well, spec or core in this case. So you can't actually do a commander in that case, whereas clone troopers, that you could do them all. But Inspire 2 and 2 Surge. I remember with token sharing, like that's good, but Rex doesn't often need the Surge for his offense, so you're basically farming out the sharing at that point, right? I mean, sure, if he's getting shot at, you can use him. But the recover, so that's interesting. Like I said, today's a working meet. I'm talking through it myself, really trying to ask if the restrictions of the list are worth the benefits from the command cards. I think probably they're not. That's kind of just my first impression here because, Anakin himself, there's some challenges around running Anakin, especially if you have, or if you don't have someone like Padme or an Obi-Wan to try and, keep him sane, whatever. So I think that's a risky proposal because I'm not seeing anything in these command, flip them back up. I'm not seeing anything in these command cards that really serve the purpose that you would sacrifice by not bringing one of Anakin's friends. So that's interesting. I do want to point out the way that these, the art on this, right, it's one continuous, if you lay them side by side, it's one continuous thing. It's pretty cool, right, because you can see the rocks from the 3 pip on the 2 pip. So, and then you run into the issue again, if you're only running one commander, right, remember you have 2 2-pips here if you're running these all, and so you have to choose between those or the other 2-pip, but then you're running shy on 1 pip, so then you got to go use some of the, more generic ones. So, very interesting. Very interesting here. I don't know. What do you guys think, right? Like, I'm in the headspace where I think that the bonus of, right, if you're playing the 501st, you're probably doing it because you want more spec ops than the command cards. That's kind of where my head is. But, we live and we learn over time. So what do you guys think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you excited about the 501st? Are you disappointed in the 501st? Where's your head at? Because that's kind of where my head is, I think. But we'll play around with that. Going to try to make my clones work again. But I think without a slight, especially there was a conversation we had a couple weeks ago. I know I was ready to close off, but we're back again. So there was a conversation we had a couple weeks ago in the comments on the Super Commando video, where we're basically comparing the Super Commandos and the ARC Troopers, and the ARC Troopers don't seem as good anymore, right? So just at their price point. And again, I know it's really easy for someone who's like, well, I want my army to be cheaper and better. Like, I get it, guys. On the other hand, like, they took kind of the double nerf, and I don't know if having a whole bunch of them changed, especially when you're limited on your strike teams, which is, again, probably a fair limitation. But when you're limited on that, I don't know. So again, I know it's very easy for me to sit here and be like, well, I want my army to be better and cheaper. I get it. But I just think that, looking at this, I'm not really sure overall if the 501st, I don't know. We'll have to see what the other command cards are for all these other battle forces and see if maybe that's kind of a consistent thing. I mean, I don't know what kind of bombs I was hoping for. It's just, I think that, some of these are really good. They are. But you have to make trades. So that's part of the discussion. So anyway, I'll wrap it up there. Still trying to get my head all wrapped around it. Let me know what you guys are thinking. If nothing else, folks, thanks for joining me on this Sunday, and go Commando.